Story 1. I've been working as a nutritionist at this wellness center for about 6 years now. We offer meal planning, fitness consultations, and various cleanse programs. I've seen every kind of client imaginable. People who actually follow through, people who quit after 2 days, people who blame everyone but themselves when they don't see results. But nothing prepared me for what happened last month. A woman came in for a consultation on a Monday morning. She seemed enthusiastic about getting healthy, told me she'd tried every diet under the sun, and was ready for something that would finally work. I explained our 7-day juice cleanse program. It's pretty standard. Cold-pressed juices, specific times to drink them, plenty of water, light exercise. Nothing extreme. The first few days can be challenging as your body adjusts, but most people feel great by day 4. You might experience some headaches or fatigue initially. Woman, that's fine. I'm committed. I need to reset my entire system. Great. The program is $400, which includes all the juices delivered fresh each morning, daily check-in calls from me, and a post-cleanse consultation. Woman, perfect. When can I start? We can get you started tomorrow if you'd like. She paid the full amount up front and seemed genuinely excited. I sent her home with the information packet and scheduled her first juice delivery for Tuesday morning. The first day went fine. I called to check in that evening, and she said everything was good. She'd had all 4 juices at the scheduled times and was feeling optimistic. Day 2, same thing. No complaints. She mentioned feeling a little hungry, but said that was expected. Day 3 was when things started falling apart. She called me at 7 in the morning, which was unusual since I typically called her in the evening. Woman, I need to talk to you about these juices. Of course. Is everything okay? Woman, no. Nothing is okay. These juices are lying to me. Lying to you? Woman, yes, they're telling my body one thing and doing another. This is textbook gaslighting. I'm not sure I understand. Are you experiencing side effects? Woman, the juice is gaslighting my metabolism. It says it's going to cleanse me, but instead it's making me hungry. That's manipulation. Hunger is normal during a cleanse, especially in the first few days. Your body is adjusting to a lower calorie intake. Woman, no, this is metabolic betrayal. The juice promised it would satisfy me, but I'm starving. That's gaslighting. The juice can't make promises. It's just pressed vegetables and fruits. And hunger during a cleanse is completely normal and expected. Woman, so you're saying it's my fault? Now you're gaslighting me. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault. I'm explaining that what you're experiencing is a normal part of the cleanse process. We discussed this during your consultation. Woman, you never said the juice would lie to me. Again, juice can't lie. It's an inanimate beverage. Woman, that's exactly what someone who was in on the gaslighting conspiracy would say. I took a deep breath, trying to remain professional. Would you like to continue the cleanse? You're on day 3. Many people find that day 4 is when they start feeling much better. Woman, I don't know if I can trust these juices anymore. They've broken my confidence. Why don't you take today to think about it, and we can talk tomorrow? Woman, fine. But I'm watching these juices very carefully. Day 4, she didn't answer when I called for the evening check-in. I left a voicemail asking her to call me back. Day 5, she finally called me back at noon. Woman, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. That's completely fine. Some people find the cleanse isn't right for them. You gave it a good effort. Woman, I want a refund. Unfortunately, our policy is no refunds once the program has started. You signed the agreement acknowledging this. Woman, that was before I knew the juice was going to gaslight me. The juice didn't gaslight you. You experienced normal hunger, which we discussed would happen. Woman, normal. Normal? There's nothing normal about internal betrayal. Internal betrayal. Woman, yes, my own metabolism turned against me, and it was all because of your lying juices. Your metabolism didn't turn against you. It functioned exactly as expected during a reduced calorie cleanse. Woman, I want my money back. All $400. Me, I understand you're disappointed, but the refund policy is clear. You received 5 days of juices, multiple check-in calls, and consultation time. We've fulfilled our end of the agreement. Woman, your end? What about my end? What about the emotional damage your juices caused? Me, I'm sorry you had a difficult experience, but hunger and adjustment periods are part of any cleanse program. Woman, this isn't about hunger. This is about trust. Those juices made my body believe things that weren't true. Me, juice cannot make your body believe anything. It provides nutrients and hydration. That's all. Woman, see? You keep defending the juice. You're clearly in on it. Me, in on what, exactly? Woman, the metabolic gaslighting conspiracy. You and your juices are working together to sabotage people from the inside. Me, I can assure you there's no conspiracy. This is a legitimate wellness program that hundreds of people have completed successfully. Woman, then why did my metabolism get targeted? Me, your metabolism wasn't targeted. It responded normally to a caloric reduction. Woman, I'm suing you. Me, suing me? Woman, yes, for internal betrayal. You and your juices betrayed my insides. Me, that's not a legal claim. And again, you signed an agreement that included an arbitration clause and acknowledged the potential side effects. Woman, I never agreed to metabolic warfare. Me, you agreed to a juice cleanse, which by definition changes your eating patterns temporarily. Woman, I'm calling my lawyer right now. She hung up. I immediately contacted my supervisor and explained the situation. We pulled her signed agreement, which clearly stated no refunds and listed all possible side effects, including hunger, headaches, and fatigue. 2 days later, we received an email from her. Not from a lawyer, but from her personal email address. It was 8 paragraphs long detailing how the juices had systematically undermined her metabolic trust, and demanding not just a refund, but additional compensation for emotional damages caused by beverage-based psychological manipulation. My supervisor responded with a polite but firm email reiterating our refund policy and suggesting she might benefit from speaking with a therapist about her concerns. She responded by leaving a 1-star review on every platform she could find. The reviews were wild. She claimed our juices were engaged in a coordinated campaign of internal deception, and that we were running a metabolic gaslighting operation disguised as a wellness center. Most people reading the reviews clearly thought she was unhinged. Several people left comments asking if she was okay. One person asked if the juice cleanse had affected her brain. She tried calling the center multiple times over the next week. But after the 3rd call, where she threatened legal action for digestive emotional abuse, we blocked her number and sent a formal cease and desist letter. About 3 weeks later, she showed up at the center in person. I was in a consultation with another client, but my coworker at the front desk handled it. Woman, I'm here to speak to someone about my case. Coworker, you've been asked not to contact us further. If you have legal concerns, they need to go through proper channels. Woman, legal concerns? This goes beyond legal. This is about justice for metabolic victims everywhere. Coworker, you need to leave, or I'll have to call security. Woman, you can't silence me. The juice truth will come out. She finally left after my coworker picked up the phone to call building security. We haven't heard from her since, though she does occasionally update her reviews with new theories about how juice cleanses are part of a larger conspiracy to make people distrust their own bodies. We've started including an additional disclaimer in our cleanse paperwork now. It explicitly states that feeling hungry during a cleanse is normal and expected, and that juices are incapable of lying, gaslighting, or betraying anyone. My supervisor joked that we should also add that juices have no agenda and cannot conspire against your metabolism, but our lawyer said we should probably keep the disclaimers somewhat professional. I still do juice cleanse consultations, But now, whenever someone seems overly concerned about trusting the process, I make extra sure they understand what they're signing up for. Because apparently some people think vegetables can commit psychological warfare. Who knew that beets and kale were capable of such elaborate manipulation schemes? Story 2. I've been working at this home goods store for about 5 years now. We sell everything from candles to picture frames to decorative pillows. It's a pretty relaxed job most of the time. People come in, browse around, buy things for their homes, and leave happy. Returns are usually straightforward. Someone bought the wrong size, changed their mind within the 30-day window, got a duplicate gift. Standard stuff. I was working the customer service desk on a Wednesday afternoon when a woman walked up carrying a small bag. She set it on the counter with this determined look on her face. "Woman, I need to return this." Me, "Sure, no problem. Do you have your receipt?" Woman, "No. I bought it a while ago." Me, "That's okay. If you used a credit card, I can look it up in our system. Do you remember roughly when you purchased it?" Woman, "It was a few years ago. Maybe 3 years? Or 4? I'm not totally sure." I paused, trying to figure out if I'd heard her correctly. Me, 3 or 4 years ago? Woman, "Yes. Is that a problem?" Me, "Our return policy is 30 days with a receipt, 60 days with store credit, if you have your original payment method. 3 years is well outside that window." Woman, "But I'm returning it now. I don't want it anymore." Me, "I understand, but we can't accept returns after 3 years. That's far beyond our policy timeframe." Woman, "Why not? It's unused." She pulled a candle out of the bag. It was one of our seasonal scents from years ago. The label was faded and the box was bent at the corners. Me, "Even if it's unused, our policy has time limits. 3 years is much too long." Woman, "But it didn't spark joy sustainably." Me, "I'm sorry, what?" Woman, "The candle. It didn't spark joy in a sustainable way. It sparked joy initially, but then that joy wasn't sustainable over time. That's false advertising." Me, "Ma'am, candles aren't designed to spark joy indefinitely while sitting unused in your home. They're designed to be burned." Woman, "That's not what your marketing implied. Your signs say these candles create ambience and warmth. That should be ongoing." Me, "The ambience comes from burning the candle, not from storing it in a closet for 3 years." Woman, "So you're saying it's my fault that your candle didn't provide sustainable joy?" Me, "I'm saying that a candle you never used can't provide anything, and regardless, we can't accept a return from 3 years ago." Woman, "This is discrimination against people who take their time deciding about purchases." Me, "It's not discrimination. It's a policy that applies to everyone equally. 30 days for returns." Woman, 30 days isn't enough time to determine if something sparks joy sustainably. I need years to make that assessment. Me, "Then you probably shouldn't buy things you're not sure about." Woman, "How dare you? I'm a paying customer. I have rights." Me, "You have the right to return items within our stated return window, which is 30 days. That's the policy you agreed to when you made the purchase." Woman, "I never agreed to anything. I just bought a candle." Me, "The policy is posted at every register and printed on every receipt. It's also on our website." Woman, "I don't read receipts. Who has time for that?" Me, "Well, the policy still applies whether you read it or not." Woman, "This is outrageous. What kind of store doesn't believe in second chances?" Me, "We believe in second chances within a reasonable time frame. 3 years is not reasonable." Woman, "Says who? Who decided 30 days is reasonable? That's arbitrary." Me, "It's actually pretty standard in retail. Most stores have similar policies." Woman, "Well, most stores are wrong. I deserve to return this candle." Me, "I'm sorry, but I can't process this return. Is there anything else I can help you with today?" She stared at me for a long moment, her face getting progressively redder. Woman, "So you're just going to refuse me? Just like that?" Me, "I'm following store policy. I don't have the authority to override a 3-year-old purchase. Woman, get me your manager. Me, I can call my manager, but they're going to tell you the same thing. Woman, I don't care, get them. I called my manager over the radio. She arrived a couple minutes later, and I explained the situation. My manager looked at the candle, looked at the woman, and sighed. Manager, unfortunately, we can't accept returns after 3 years. Our policy is very clear about the time frame. Woman, but it didn't spark joy sustainably. Manager, I'm not sure what that means, but it doesn't change our return policy. Woman, it means your product failed to deliver on its implied promise of ongoing happiness. Manager, candles don't promise ongoing happiness. They promise to smell nice when you burn them. Woman, that's not what your marketing says. Your signs talk about creating a cozy home environment. Manager, when you use the candle, yes. Not when it sits in storage for 3 years. Woman, so you're both refusing me. You're both denying me my rights as a consumer. Manager, you have all the rights that any customer has. But returning items 3 years after purchase isn't one of them. Woman, this is discrimination, age discrimination. You're discriminating against old purchases. Me, that's not what age discrimination means. Woman, how would you know? Are you a lawyer? Me, no. But I know that age discrimination refers to discriminating against people based on their age, not the age of a purchase. Woman, well, you're discriminating against something? I can feel it. Manager, ma'am, we've explained the policy multiple times. We cannot accept this return. If you'd like to make a new purchase today, we'd be happy to help you. But this candle cannot be returned. The woman grabbed the candle box off the counter and threw it on the floor. It bounced once and slid under a display table. Woman, fine. This store doesn't believe in second chances. You're all heartless. Manager, ma'am, you need to calm down or I'll have to ask you to leave. Woman, I'm already leaving, and I'm never coming back. Never. Manager, that's your choice. Woman, you'll regret this. When word gets out that you refuse returns based on arbitrary time restrictions, you'll lose all your customers. Manager, our 30-day return policy is posted everywhere and is completely standard. I don't think we'll have an issue. Woman, I'm writing a review. Everyone will know about this. Manager, you're welcome to do that. Woman, and I'm telling all my friends, they'll never shop here again. Manager, okay? The woman stormed toward the exit, then stopped and turned back. Woman, aren't you going to try to stop me? Beg me to stay? Manager, no. Woman, you really don't believe in second chances, do you? Manager, we believe in reasonable return policies. Have a good day. The woman made an outraged noise and finally left. My manager picked up the candle box from under the display table and examined it. Manager, 3 years, that's gotta be a record. Me, should I put this in damages? Manager, yeah, the box is too beat up to resell anyway. Me, do you think she'll actually write a review? Manager, probably. They always do. Sure enough, the next day a 1-star review appeared on our website. It was a masterpiece of entitlement. She claimed we had draconian return policies that punish thoughtful consumers who take time to evaluate their purchases. She said we discriminated against sustainable joy-seeking and refused to acknowledge that 30 days is insufficient time to determine a candle's long-term value proposition. The review got 17 responses. Most people pointed out that 3 years is an absurd amount of time to try to return something. Someone asked if she also tried to return groceries from 2020. Another person suggested she might want to look up what return policy means. One person wrote a really long response calculating that she'd kept the candle for roughly 1,000 days, which meant she'd had about 970 days to return it within policy, but had somehow never found the time. She responded to several comments, arguing that time is subjective and that consumer rights shouldn't have expiration dates. Someone pointed out that milk has expiration dates and nobody complains about that. She said comparing candles to milk was insulting. The whole comment thread devolved into a debate about reasonable return windows. Most people agreed 30 days was fair. A few people thought it should be longer. Exactly one person sided with her, and that person's profile showed they'd left one-star reviews at basically every store in town, so their credibility was questionable. My manager printed out the review and put it in our break room with a note that said, "New record for attempted return, 3 years. Let's see if anyone can beat it." 2 weeks later, someone tried to return a vase from 5 years ago. When we told them no, they said they'd read online that we accepted returns from several years ago and were now discriminating against them specifically. My manager added a new sign at the customer service desk in giant letters: "Returns accepted within 30 days of purchase with receipt. No exceptions." We still get people trying to return old stuff occasionally. Last month, someone tried to return a picture frame from 2 years ago. When I said no, they asked if I'd heard about second chances. I just pointed at the sign. I sometimes wonder what the woman did with that candle. Whether she finally burned it, threw it away, or tried to return it at another store. Part of me hopes she's still carrying it around, trying to find someone who will take it back. Because apparently 3 years isn't enough time to decide if you want to keep a candle, but it is enough time to develop a deeply committed grudge against reasonable store policies. Story 3. I own a small hair salon in a strip mall on the east side of town. It's nothing fancy, just me and 2 other stylists trying to make a living doing what we love. We've been in business for about 5 years, and in that time I've dealt with all kinds of customers. Most are wonderful, some are difficult, and then there are the ones who make you question why you ever chose customer service as a career. About 4 months ago, a woman came in for what should have been a simple appointment. Highlights, trim, blowout. Standard stuff. She showed me a picture on her phone of some celebrity with perfectly styled blonde highlights and said she wanted exactly that. I explained that her hair texture was different and her natural color would mean the results wouldn't be identical, but I could get her something beautiful and flattering. She insisted she wanted exactly what was in the photo. 3 hours later, after careful work and multiple toner applications, her hair looked great. Not exactly like the celebrity photo because that's literally impossible, but objectively good work. Professional, even, and well-blended highlights that complemented her skin tone. She looked in the mirror and her face fell. Customer, this isn't what I asked for. Me, it's as close as we can get with your natural base color. The highlights are beautiful and exactly what we discussed. Customer, no, I wanted that exact shade. This is wrong. I tried explaining again about hair texture, natural undertones, and realistic expectations. She wasn't hearing it. She demanded I fix it. I explained that doing another round of bleach would damage her hair. She didn't care. Against my better judgment, I did a second round of highlighting, making them slightly lighter. When I was done, she looked in the mirror again. Customer, still not right. I'm not paying for this. Me, ma'am, I've spent over 4 hours on your hair. We had an agreement on services and pricing. Customer, I don't pay for substandard work. Consider this a learning experience. She walked out. Just left. The bill was $320. I sent her multiple invoices over the next 2 months. She ignored all of them. I sent a final notice saying I'd take her to small claims court if she didn't pay. She texted back saying I should be grateful she wasn't suing me for emotional distress. So I filed a claim. Small claims court for unpaid services. I had the signed service agreement, photos of her hair before and after, and documentation of my attempts to collect payment. The court date arrived on a Thursday morning. I showed up in business casual attire with all my paperwork organized in a folder. She showed up wearing what looked like a judge's robe. Not an actual one, but something she'd clearly made or bought online. Black and flowing with fake gold trim. We sat on opposite sides of the small courtroom. There were a few other cases ahead of ours, so we had to wait. She kept muttering to herself and adjusting her homemade robe. Finally, our case was called. We both approached the bench. The actual judge, a woman in her 60s who'd probably seen everything in her career, looked over the paperwork. Judge, this is a claim for unpaid salon services in the amount of $320. Miss, you're the plaintiff. Me, yes, Your Honor. Judge, and you're the defendant. Do you dispute that you received these services? Karen stood up straighter and cleared her throat dramatically. Karen, Your Honor, I dispute the quality of services rendered. The work was substandard and did not meet the specifications I provided. Judge, do you have evidence of this? Karen, I have photographic evidence of the emotional distress caused by the improper hair treatment. She held up her phone showing selfies of herself looking upset. The judge looked unimpressed. Judge, that's not evidence of poor service quality. Do you have expert testimony or professional assessment of the work? Karen, I am my own expert. I know what I wanted and I know what I received. Judge, that's not how this works. The plaintiff has provided documentation of services rendered and payment terms agreed upon. Do you have documentation to counter this claim? That's when Karen reached into a bag she'd brought and pulled out what looked like a scroll. An actual scroll tied with a ribbon. She untied it dramatically. Karen, before we proceed further, I need to address something fundamental about this proceeding. Judge, please just answer my question. Karen, no. You see, that's the problem with this entire system. She turned and pointed directly at the judge. Karen, you can't judge me. I judge you. The courtroom went silent. The judge's expression didn't change, but I saw her eyebrows raise slightly. Judge, excuse me. Karen, I am the judge of morality. I have determined that this entire proceeding is based on false premises and capitalistic oppression. You have no authority over me. She started unrolling her scroll. Karen, I have prepared my own verdict, which I will now read into the record. Judge, ma'am, sit down. Karen, the moral court of universal truth finds the plaintiff guilty of. Judge, Bailiff. The court officer who'd been standing near the door started walking toward her. Karen, you can't silence the truth. I hereby declare this court invalid and sentence you to spiritual reflection. Bailiff, ma'am, you need to leave. Karen, I'm not leaving. I'm the judge here. I determine the rulings. She was waving her scroll around like a weapon now. A few people in the courtroom waiting for their cases started laughing. Someone in the back actually snorted, trying to hold it in. The bailiff reached her and gently but firmly took her by the arm. Karen, this is judicial tyranny. I demand to be recognized as the rightful authority. Bailiff, let's go. He started escorting her toward the door. She was still clutching her scroll and yelling. Karen, the moral court will not be silenced. You're all complicit in a corrupt system. I judge you guilty. All of you. The door closed behind them. The courtroom was completely silent for about 3 seconds, and then people started laughing. Not just chuckling, but actual laughing. Even the court reporter was covering her mouth, trying to maintain composure. The judge waited for the noise to die down, shaking her head slightly. Judge, well, that was a first. She looked down at the paperwork again. Judge, the defendant has effectively forfeited her opportunity to present a defense by refusing to participate in these proceedings in a lawful manner. The plaintiff has provided adequate documentation of services rendered and payment terms. I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff for the full amount of $320 plus court costs. I could barely believe it. The whole thing had taken maybe 10 minutes. Me, thank you, Your Honor. Judge, good luck collecting. Something tells me she's not going to make it easy. The judge was right about that. I had to pursue a wage garnishment to actually get paid, which took another 2 months. But I eventually got my money. The best part came a week after the court date. Someone who'd been in the courtroom that day had recorded the whole thing on their phone and posted it to social media. Within days, it had thousands of views. People were making memes about the judge of morality and her verdict scroll. She posted her own video response, wearing the same homemade robe, explaining that the viral video proved people were ready for moral court reform. The comments absolutely roasted her. My salon actually got some positive attention from it. People came in specifically because they'd seen the video and wanted to support a small business owner who dealt with that level of nonsense. I framed a copy of the court judgment and hung it in my office, not because I'm proud of having to sue someone, but as a reminder that sometimes you have to stand up for yourself, even when people claim to be the judge of morality. The real judge seemed to handle it just fine. Story 4. I started working at Sweet Scoop's ice cream parlor during the summer after my sophomore year of college. It's a locally owned shop that's been around for decades, the kind of place that still makes waffle cones fresh every morning and has those old-fashioned glass display cases. The owner is this kind older man who treats his employees well and actually pays above minimum wage, which is why people tend to stick around. The job is pretty simple. Scoop ice cream, take orders, keep things clean, smile at customers. Most days are pleasant. Kids excited about their cones, families coming in after dinner, couples on dates. Sure, you get the occasional complicated order or someone who takes 20 minutes to decide on a flavor, but nothing too stressful. I'd been working there for about 3 weeks when it happened. It was one of those brutally hot days in late July, where the heat hits you like a wall the second you step outside. 38 degrees Celsius, maybe higher. The kind of weather where the pavement shimmers and everyone moves in slow motion. Business was booming because everyone wanted something cold. We'd been slammed since opening, and I was working the register while my coworker handled scooping duties. Around 2 in the afternoon, during a brief lull between rushes, this woman came in. She was already sweating and looked annoyed before she even got to the counter. She studied the flavors through the glass for a solid 5 minutes while a line formed behind her. "Karen, I'll have 2 scoops of the strawberry cheesecake in a waffle cone." Me, "Sure thing. That'll be $6.50. She paid and my coworker handed her the cone. 2 generous scoops of our homemade strawberry cheesecake ice cream in a fresh waffle cone. It looked perfect. She took it and walked outside. I helped the next few customers in line, probably about 5 or 6 people. Maybe 10 minutes passed. Then the door flew open and she came storming back in. Her cone was noticeably melting. Pink ice cream was dripping down the sides, running over her hand, which made sense because it was literally 38 degrees outside and she'd been standing in direct sunlight. "Karen, I need a refund." Me, "I'm sorry, is something wrong with the ice cream?" Karen, "It melted too emotionally fast." I genuinely thought I'd misheard her over the noise of the shop. Me, "I'm sorry, what?" Karen, "This ice cream melted too emotionally fast. It's clearly defective." Me, "It's melting because it's really hot outside today. Ice cream melts in heat." Karen, "Not this fast. I've had ice cream before. This is unacceptable." I looked at the cone. It had been maybe 10 or 12 minutes since we'd given it to her. In 38-degree heat, the ice cream was actually holding up pretty well considering. Me, "Ma'am, it's 38 degrees outside. Ice cream melts at room temperature, and it's much hotter than that today." Her face went red. Karen, "So you admit it. You admit you sold me fragile dairy." Me, "I'm saying ice cream melts when it's hot. That's just how ice cream works." Karen, "This is false advertising. You sold me a product that can't withstand normal conditions." Me, 38 degrees isn't normal conditions for ice cream. That's why most people eat it quickly or stay inside where there's air conditioning. Several customers in line were watching now. A little kid tugged on his mom's shirt and whispered something. The mom was trying not to smile. Karen, "I want a refund and I want it now." Me, "I can't give you a refund because the ice cream melted. That's not a defect in the product." Karen, "This is theft. You deliberately sold me ice cream that would melt." Me, "All ice cream melts. That's the nature of ice cream." She raised the cone above her head like she was about to throw it. My coworker, who'd been watching from the scoop station, took a step back. Then she slammed the cone down on the counter. Hard. Ice cream exploded everywhere. Pink strawberry cheesecake splattered across the register, the counter, the glass display case. Some of it hit my shirt. The waffle cone shattered into pieces. Me, ma'am, you need to leave. Karen, not until I get my money back. She took a step toward me, probably to yell more effectively, and that's when her foot hit the puddle of melted ice cream that had formed on the floor from her cone dripping. Her feet went out from under her. She windmilled her arms trying to catch herself, knocked over the tip jar on the counter, and landed hard on her side on the tile floor. The entire shop went silent. Karen, I'm injured. I'm calling my lawyer. My coworker rushed to grab paper towels. I came around the counter to see if she was actually hurt. Me, are you okay? Do you need me to call someone? She was struggling to get up, slipping again slightly on the melted ice cream. Karen, this floor betrayed my dignity. This is assault by negligent maintenance. Me, you created the puddle when you slammed your cone on the counter. Karen, that's irrelevant. You should have immediately cleaned it. Me, it happened 5 seconds ago. She finally managed to get to her feet, covered in pink ice cream residue, her dignity definitely not intact. Her phone had skidded across the floor during the fall, and she bent down to grab it, nearly slipping again. Karen, I'm documenting this. I'm calling the health department. I'm calling the police. Owner, what's going on out here? The owner had come out from the back after hearing the commotion. He looked at the destroyed counter, the ice cream on the floor, the woman covered in pink residue, and somehow managed to keep a completely straight face. Karen, your employee sold me defective ice cream and then created a hazard that caused me physical injury. Owner, I see. Let me check our security footage. We had cameras, 3 of them covering different angles of the shop. The owner pulled up the footage on his phone right there, rewound it, and watched the last few minutes. I could see the screen from where I was standing. It showed everything. Her slamming the cone down, the ice cream exploding, her stepping in her own mess and falling. Owner, ma'am, this footage clearly shows you created the mess yourself and then slipped in it. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Karen, that footage is edited. Owner, it's a live feed with timestamps. You're welcome to leave now, or I can call the police for destruction of property and disturbance. She looked around the shop. Everyone was staring at her. A teenager in line had his phone out, clearly recording. The little kid from earlier was eating his ice cream and watching like it was a show. Karen grabbed her purse and stormed toward the door, slipping one more time slightly on the way out. She slammed the door so hard the bell fell off. The owner looked at me and my coworker. Owner, well, that was interesting. Let's get this cleaned up. We spent the next 20 minutes cleaning melted ice cream off every surface. The owner didn't charge us for the ruined product or blame us for what happened. The next day, he called us into his office. He'd made copies of the security footage. Owner, I'm adding this to our training materials, under the section titled, How to Handle Unreasonable Customers. I think it covers everything. The ice cream slam, the physics of melting, the self-inflicted fall, the dignity betrayal. It's perfect. He wasn't kidding. New employees now watch that footage as part of their training. It's become legendary among the staff. We even have names for different parts. The emotional melt, the fragile dairy accusation, the dignity betrayal. The owner had the footage burned onto a DVD with the title Ice Cream Shop Meltdown, a training guide written in marker. Every summer when we get new hires, someone inevitably asks if customers really act like that. We just smile and put on the video. The answer is yes. Yes, they do. And ice cream still melts at 38 degrees, no matter how much anyone yells about it.